From an England point of view, they just struggled desperately for like a moment of inspiration or a creative spark.
It just seems pretty odd that this inner flamboyance and faith in entertainment seem to go out the window pretty darn quickly when faced with a team that can defend well. That's odd.
I don't think the Ronaldo issue is gone. It's not over. It's not finished because he scored a couple of goals and says he's back.
There's something very seductive about the way Norway as a people are approaching this World Cup.
Hello and welcome to The Game, a football podcast from The Times and Sunday Times. This is day 13 of our daily World Cup shows. In part 2, we'll discuss Cristiano Ronaldo's double in Portugal's big win and preview Scotland's huge game with Brazil. But first, let's talk England. It was, well, I mean, let's be honest, it was pretty boring. A 0-0 draw with Ghana, 4 points, but struggles against a low block and determined defensive display. We'll try and make sense of all of it and ask what next for Thomas Tuchel's side. I'm Tom Clarke and I'm joined today by senior sports writer and Sunday Times columnist Alyson and the former footballer turned journalist Gregor Robertson. Lots to unpick from this game. What did you make of it overall? A frustrating night for England.
It was almost the inverse of what happened with Croatia, in that there was lots of texture to that first half against Croatia, and Tuchel made some intelligent substitutes, and England grew in stature and confidence and were entertaining. In this game, it was as if there was nothing to hold on to from the first half. So it was hard. It was much more difficult for the substitutes to know what to do. So I think the lesson learned from it was that patience is not always a virtue. It might have been a good idea to create some chaos of England's own. The mantra was after that first game that, lose or win on your own terms, and it felt like England allowed Ghana to set the agenda and the philosophy of the game, and that if they were patient enough, the game would eventually open up, and then the superior players would shine. Now that almost happened. England did get some chances towards the end as the game did expand, but there were plenty of minutes before then when England could have just created chaos in the area, got some crosses in, just mix things up a little bit. So what I find difficult is to see what step 2 of the Tuchel master plan is from this game. Although maybe he's just a hostage to England history, because this is something England does do. They do draw 0-0 the second game of the World Cup campaign. So maybe he's fighting against forces much bigger than him. But I felt overall it was disappointing. Full credit to Ghana, but I don't really see why a team boasting the talent that England has and the depth of talent that England has, why you let Ghana set the agenda so strongly.
Yeah, as you mentioned, those substitutes, I wanted to bring in Johnny Northcroft's intro to his match report that we've just sent to the presses in the Times offices. Johnny writes, "On went the substitutes, or finishers, as Thomas Tuchel likes to call them, and on went England's torture, that excruciating experience when you dominate but cannot terminate. They had the possession stats of World Cup contenders and, until the very final stages, the XG of a fourth-place group team. Welcome to a hell that Thomas Tuchel, for all his smarts, has struggled to solve as England boss. The low block. The nuggety, committed, determined, organised underdog who parks themselves in front of goal and challenges you to find the wit and patience to get through." Beautifully summed up there by Johnny, who was alongside Matt in the ground. Gregor, welcome to your favourite part of any international tournament. Game 2 after England, and everyone's lost the plot after a bore draw. This is what you've... Never mind Scotland, Haiti. This is the moment you've been waiting for, isn't it?
No, Tom, I don't know what you don't take me for. I think Johnny makes a serious point in his intro there, is that these games are really hard. They are really tough, and Ghana were great. Ghana had a game plan and they stuck to it. And actually they started to become a bit more adventurous as the game went on, and they were more dangerous on the break, and their substitutes made a difference. So I think you have to give Ghana credit. From an England point of view, they just struggled desperately for like a moment of inspiration or a creative spark, and like from anywhere. There were moments in the first half where I was looking and seeing Bellingham in little pockets of space, and no one was really brave enough to punch the ball into his feet. So that was like an avenue closed. And then you would give it out to Madueke, and he wouldn't beat him down the line. I think I looked and it was the 37th minute before he actually went past him on the outside. The fullback, and both Ghana's fullbacks, by the way, were outstanding. Anthony Gordon had almost no impact on the game at all. Elliot Anderson didn't really have any. He was kind of stuck in between because Rice was trying to push higher up alongside Bellingham, and he, I don't know, was trying to get the ball off the centre halves and create, but it was just like it was more congested in front of him. It's just a stodgy, difficult night, and not until the last 15 minutes. And I think a few of the subs made a difference. Saka made a difference. Morgan Rogers tried to do things, and then I don't know. There were even I have to I'm not trying to be wise after the event, but because I actually love Jed Spence, and I think actually when we named our England teams maybe 6 months ago, this apart from Saka was the team I named. I put Spence at left back, and I think he's great. And I think part of the logic of playing him is that the further you go, the more important his speed and his defensive nous, his pace against some of the best wingers, against a Yamal, against a Dembele or whatever, will be vital. So I see that. But after 5 minutes, you thought, this is a game for Nico Riley, because he's someone who can come into those tight spaces and look comfortable. Spence isn't that. Spence wants open spaces. And even Nico Riley can make a late run into the box and score a goal, and he almost did. So that was one call I think probably Thomas Tuchel got wrong. And I see, as I say, I see the logic in it. But when you look at Ghana's possession stats from the first game against Panama, you knew how they were going to approach this. If you look at Carlos Queiroz' possession stats as an international manager, I think they said on commentary it's 35% possession overall of all the nations he's managed. You knew what your challenge was going to be here. So I think this was a game for Nico Riley, who's comfortable stepping in to be that extra man in midfield or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, difficult night, and it isn't a night to lose your heads over, because all is not lost.
What Carlos Queiroz does is do defensive brilliance well, Gregor. What English fans do is lose their heads after a second 0-0 draw in the group stage. Come on, don't deny us this.
If we were three Ghanaians discussing this match, we would be quite livid that VAR did not seem to look at what looked like a pretty clear, not reasonably clear penalty shout against Konza. What I don't understand is was that a mistake in the VAR because they just sort of didn't understand when the flag went up or when there was an infringement? Because the foul was before any infringement. It definitely deserved to be looked at. Player was taken out, the ball was not touched by Konza. So therefore, at the very least, you expect a VAR review and for the referee to look at that again. I don't understand. And also, we would be thinking, England got a bit lucky when Jordan Pickford came out of his area. That was one of those decisions on a knife edge that could quite easily have gone against Pickford, and he might have been sent off. I mean, this isn't a game of just one storyline, which is that Ghana were defensive and that was all they did. There were some jittery moments for England, and we could quite easily be talking about a 1-0 England defeat if that penalty had been reviewed.
Yeah, there's certainly other incidents in the tournament when I think back, having watched as many games as I have, the Argentina-Austria one as well, players kind of scissoring in from the side with their legs and chopping down on the ball like that. It seemed quite similar to that. In terms of back with England, I've just got a couple of stats here. 78.8% possession. That was England's possession figure in this game, which was the most on record since 1966 by any side in a World Cup match without managing to score, which basically sums it all up. We could just wrap up the podcast there, couldn't we? But England v Ghana is also the first match of this World Cup not to have a single shot in the first half. And I've got to say, having had the privilege, and I mean privilege, of having watched every single game so far, that was the worst one. That was the worst one. I've got to say, Gregor, you'll be delighted to hear that it pips Scotland Haiti in terms of excitement levels. But yeah, it was definitely the worst one. Matt mentioned an interesting point, Alyson, about the Panama game and how that takes on a different meaning now, because they will undoubtedly play probably in a similar fashion to Ghana. And Thomas Tuchel now has to approach it in a slightly different way. 6 points means you can rotate the entire team. You can change everything about it. You can relax. 4 points, you can't do quite exactly the same. You know, England are still in a very strong position. Does that change things going forward as well? Because England are in this part of the draw where their schedule gets very condensed now. Do you think that's a worry for England at all?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's so much attention to detail in the planning of this. They were very aware of how condensed their tournament was going to be. And the best way to manage that was going to be on rotation. And if that is limited going into the final game, when your next game following that, your first knockout game is quite quick, then that will have an impact. I don't think it forms the basis for any excuses in advance, though, because of the depth of squad that England have. It's phenomenal. And also, the other thing to say is that yes, Panama might play similarly, but they won't do it as adroitly if that's the road they go down. And also, once you get into the knockouts, it's pretty unlikely to be quite that cagey. Ghana were very, very happy to get the point. That's all they probably thought they needed. I mean, going into the game, this is a huge result for them. It's not going to feel like that from the knockout stages onwards. The whole agenda will change. So it's not like England are going to look back on this and think, oh, did we learn the lessons? You're not going to really need the lessons from this, except to say that it just seems pretty odd that this inner flamboyance and faith in entertainment seem to go out the window pretty darn quickly when faced with a team that can defend well. That's odd. You've got there will be other teams that aren't as keen to have so little of the ball as Ghana, but who will defend really well. And you have to think, what do we do in those instances? Create some chaos. We have players who can cross the ball. We have players who can finish. Give them a chance. Just create something. I don't even know that I know the reason why you would say let's not create chaos, because sometimes that is we see it all the time in the Premier League, and that's where most of the players are based. If you create chaos, things will happen. Don't just stand back and pass and pass and pass and wait. Don't do that.
Yeah. Gregor, on that theme and thinking ahead to future opposition that England might face, I was watching this game and, you know, as Johnny mentioned and as Alyson has discussed, the finishers, they all came on. Rodgers came on. Saka came on, as you mentioned, and I agree with you. Look brighter on that right wing. England will definitely be better with him on. Rashford came on. But Ivan Toney and Ollie Watkins didn't come on. And I found that quite interesting in relation to what Alyson's saying about potential chaos. Ivan Toney outlined by Thomas Tuchel as one of these 3 wild cards in the squad. If there were ever a moment for a wild card, surely it was the last 10 minutes of this game, wasn't it? Put Ivan Toney next to Harry Kane and maybe change the game plan from pass to stick it in the mixer. What do you think about the idea that both those strikers didn't feature in a game where England were looking for a goal?
Yeah, I half expected to see big Dan Burn pop up as well and, you know, really stick it in the mixer. I think he still thought that because they were good at defending the box, in fairness, on the few occasions where, like, there was one in the first half where Anthony Gordon kind of, kind of a rarity, kind of bamboozled the right back and cut inside on his right foot and played a good in-swinging cross with his right foot. And Thomas Partey was in between both centre halves to head it clear. It would have found its way through to Bellingham. So like they are very, very good at defending the box and defending crosses into the box. So I think maybe he looked at it and thought that's not the way through here. I see what Alyson's saying about, you know, that is a way of creating some chaos, but so is like forming combinations out wide and getting to the byline. Like that move that happened in the first half with Madueke and Reece James making the sort of underlap run, and he played him inside and he got to the byline and cut it back. That was like inches away from the defender, had to stretch out a leg to stop that falling to, could have been Bellingham, could have been Anthony Gordon. those kind of combinations are what he really wants to see this team doing in the future. So maybe there's an eye on the future in that sense as well. But in fairness, none of the the subs made limited impact. Saka was the main one, and there are also moments in the game where you just think you need Saka. You realise that the uplift you get from having Saka on the pitch. There was a moment in the second half where I think a free kick went into the box and it was kind of half cleared, fell to the feet of Madueke. It was a good chance on the edge of the box to kind of get a good shot off, and he put it high and wide. And immediately thought that's Saka. There's a good chance that's a goal, or he's really testing the keeper. Like he's making the keeper make a good save. Those just moments of like elite level kind of quality have often been so decisive for England. So having him back and fully fit and in the team will make a big difference. But there's probably truth in saying that you shouldn't have to rely on one player to create a moment against Ghana, not even a very obdurate side like Ghana.
Gregor, I wanted to ask, as we move into part two, we're going to talk about the final round of group matches. Kit Shepherd, our colleague, made an interesting point on Twitter about this game, saying that this is the 48 team format close to its worst. There is very, very little incentive for Ghana to try and risk winning this game, and they are playing exactly like it. It's a theme that you have mentioned a couple of times as we've progressed through this tournament, and maybe I have got very excited in my delirium about how brilliant it's been and all the goals and all the incidents and all the fantastic action that we've seen. What do you make of that idea that in this game, maybe a 0-0 against Ghana was all England fans could ever expect, because that's exactly what Ghana could play for, because the format dictates that they don't need to try and win?
Yeah, look, the format's clearly flawed, and it's becoming more and more apparent the closer we get to the end of the group stage. And you're right, when there's little incentive to win, this is probably the result. And then it's going to be very interesting to see how the teams who have qualified already after 2 games treat their third game, which obviously opens up a whole new sort of discussion about the kind of fairness of them fielding a weaker team against another nation, and how that affects everyone else, essentially. So, it's astonishing, really. I don't know how hard it is to put together a group phase and then a knockout. It's not that difficult, and they're making it really difficult. And all the things you've said in recent days are true. Like, there've been some great stories, and there's been a lot of value added from having new nations, and the sort of sense of discovery you get with that, and when they achieve something remarkable, the joy we'll share in seeing that goes without saying. Martin Samuel's written a column as well about this, saying that, as I said the other night, you might as well bump up to 64. That's a whole new conversation again, which maybe we'll have later on in the tournament. But as I said just before we came on air, that even Scotland, we were going to come on to talk about, say they lose 2-0 to Brazil, might have to wait until Sunday, until everything's wrapped up, to know whether we qualify as one of the eight third place teams. Like that's all just it's all ludicrous. And because we're early in the fixture schedule, like, other teams know what scoreline they will need to progress. So it's a bit of a mess, really. And I wouldn't be surprised if the result is a 64 team World Cup.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about Scotland in part 2. A huge boost, listeners, there for me personally, as a sleep-deprived man on day 13 of this World Cup, to have Gregor Robertson say that I'd said something right. What a massive boost at this stage in proceedings. But let's take that huge lift into a quick break. After we come back, we'll talk about Cristiano Ronaldo. Stick with us. Welcome back to the Game Football Podcast from the Times and Sunday Times. These are our daily World Cup shows. Let's turn our attention to the other big game of yesterday. Portugal beating Uzbekistan 5-0. 2 goals for Cristiano Ronaldo, 41 years old and still delivering. The team and captain producing the goods after an opening draw with Congo. Really important for Ronaldo to score, I think, in this game. And it was a good performance from him, I thought. I don't know about you, but I think, never mind the goals, the most significant thing he did was his kind of wonderful acting for that free kick from Nuno Mendes. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant. He puffed the cheeks out. He did the stance. He did a little stutter walk up. Amazing. Amazing stuff. Really, really Oscar worthy. What did you make of it? What did you make of this game?
Yeah, I'm not having that. I've never seen anyone take so much credit for a goal he didn't score in my life. He was running away, tapping the side of his temple. Like, as in, yeah, I sold you there, guys.
He did. Come on.
It's a good look. It's a great story, particularly when, you know, Messi just keeps banging in goals. Haaland, Mbappe, like it's been brilliant stuff. So it's great for the World Cup to see Ronaldo, as he says, back. You know, as he made a point of saying to the camera, "I'm back." That's great to see. But my goodness, like even when he scored the first goal. And ran over and celebrated with the bench and all his teammates. I thought, that's nice. It's like it's a bit of a collective moment, and he's sharing this. The guys have supported him and all that. It's brilliant. No, 2 seconds later, you've still managed to run off for like a couple of yards and do the do his big movie celebration after celebrating with all his teammates. It's like, oh no, you still remember who you are.
I think you're being a little harsh on him there, Greg. I mean, the guy that's been under the spotlight, under the cosh, towards the end of his career, as you say, Messi, Mbappe, Haaland, even Harry Kane before tonight, producing. He was under pressure, scores 2 goals. And listen, I'll let him have the theatrics for the free kick. Alyson, what about you?
I think they're the most important goals that he scored in his entire career, because he was in danger of his legacy becoming a laughingstock. Let's not forget, there was universal... I mean, not hatred exactly, but people were really scoffing him.
Mockery, universal mockery,
wasn't it? And people love having a go. We love building people up and knocking them down. And this looked like it was going to be a classic case in point. But can I just point out, there is a flaw in all of this. There were 2 free kick routines which involved acting from Cristiano Ronaldo. And they were both incredibly clever. One led to a goal, one did not. The one where he ran through the middle and into the box, and then the ball was lofted to him. It was very clever. It was again based on the assumption that everyone thought he was going to take the free kick. But why waste these ingenious routines, which need the element of surprise? Why waste them against Uzbekistan? Surely you save these very, very clever, now you see me, now you don't, what's he going to do? You save them for a knockout game, for a game where you're in jeopardy.
Maybe they've got loads of them. Maybe Austin McPhee's got a big, raft, a big stack of ideas. Maybe he doesn't need them.
He probably has, but he hasn't got the element of surprise anymore, has he?
Potentially not. What if the next idea is that Ronaldo goes and stands next to the corner flag when they've got a free kick on the edge of the box, and everyone will be going, "What are you doing over there? Where's he gone?" Right, maybe there's loads of great plans to come. I mean, listen, we're being slightly silly about Ronaldo, but I thought those free kick routines and the corner as well were brilliant to see. I mean, I know, our pal Hamza doesn't like set pieces, but I think when they're done like that, I think it's really inventive and fun. I think that was a brilliant part of this game. But Portugal as well, we should say, and Tom Allnutt made this point to me in the preview, this isn't just all about Ronaldo. This was about this team, and this team who for many people were seen as favourites, or one of the favourites, sorry, probably not favourites is a bit strong. But Gregor, they performed as well, didn't they? Bruno Fernandes looked at his best in this game. The midfield looked stronger. And yes, look, they were playing against Uzbekistan. But listen, they were playing against only Congo in the first game. So it was important for Martinez, Ronaldo, and this team to get a convincing win, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was important for all of them. And you only need to look at their team and they should be amongst the favourites. That midfield duo of Neves and Vitinha is it's just brilliant. It's one of the best in the tournament. It's got so much bite and creativity, and just they can control a game really single-handedly. And then Neto's pace. João Felix came in and looked lively, but I don't think the Ronaldo issue is gone. It's not over. It's not finished because he scored a couple of goals and says he's back. Not for me. I think we've seen too much evidence of what having him leading the line has done to this Portugal team, and the it was. How many times have you seen him released him behind the back four, like he was by Bruno for that second goal? It just doesn't really happen. He's never, very rarely has that opportunity. So, I still think it's going to be an issue for Portugal moving forward, and I would love to be proved wrong. I really would. Like, as much as I'm saying how much Ronaldo loves himself, and it's it's a bit difficult to watch at times. He's an absolute legend, and if he's like making big stories in the World Cup at the age of 41, alongside all these other greats, centre forwards at that as well, it's all the better for the tournament. So I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think the Ronaldo problem is disappeared overnight because of 2 goals against Uzbekistan.
On the flip side of that, if he really was so self-absorbed and not a team player, there was actual joy on the faces of every single teammate. He's giving them the ruffling of the hair. They're giving him the hugs. They look like a proper team where they were pleased for him and recognised his genius. So if his team and the fans are all buying into his cult status, if his teammates and the fans don't mind, do you think it matters that people who are looking on find him a little hard to stomach sometimes? Isn't what matters how he fits into the team?
No, of course it doesn't matter what I think. What matters for me is his impact or effect on the team. Like, there's a clear parallels between how Argentina are setting up to get the best out of Lionel Messi, and that's working. That has merit. It's clear. He can come alive and win them the game, and he may well come alive in lots of games and win them the tournament. That's not going to happen with Ronaldo. So it's about his narcissism is holding the team back. He still thinks he can be the man who will win them the tournament. I don't think that's true anymore. And as I say, I'd love to be proved wrong. I would, but I don't think I am.
Yeah, interesting. Listeners, if you've got any views on Cristiano Ronaldo or any of the big name players and how they're delivering at this tournament, do get in touch with me, tom.clarke@thetimes.co.uk. We do like hearing from listeners. And Alyson, I wanted to ask you about a message we had on Spotify from a listener, Dave, suggesting that maybe your boys Norway, with their rowing celebration delivered so emphatically after their win against Senegal, your mate Martin Odegaard with his drum, all the players on the pitch, all the fans in the stadium as well. I mean, this was pretty class, wasn't it? I mean, it's hard to mock. I think I've thought about it. I thought about trying to take the mick out of it, but you can't, can you? I mean, it was fantastic, wasn't it?
No, it's fantastic, partly because this is the theme they've settled on. They set off their goodbye, their farewell as they travelled across to America was the big photo shoot where they all lined up with longboats dressed as Vikings. And they're keeping that vibe going. We are the Viking team. And they've got an inventive way of celebrating that with the rowing and the drum and so on. And it reminds me of Iceland and their thunderclap celebration, which is still my favourite ever of all time, because you'd walk down the street and little kids would be doing it. I'm not saying we're not in Reykjavik, in southwest London. It was contagiously gorgeous, that, and this is approaching something similar. And I think it's quite clever, actually, because it lends an identity. It sort of stops Norway looking like interlopers. They waited 28 years to be at a World Cup, and I think that status has held people back from thinking of them as serious contenders in the World Cup. And just embracing it in this way, and this image of them, it's a good image, isn't it? The Viking image is a good image. It's a strong image. It's be afraid of us. And I love the way that the Norway players are buying into it. I said on the previous podcast, I've not seen the famous Norwegians looking quite so delighted to be playing football and wearing the shirt they're wearing ever before. It's just, there's something very seductive about the way Norway as a people are approaching this World Cup. And I stand by my prediction that they will be a team to beat.
Yeah, and they've been brilliant in the games that I've seen, I think, as well. I mean, one of the great joys of this World Cup, we've talked about some of the difficulties of it, but Erling Haaland delivering has been one of the absolute joys. I mean, I just absolutely love him. I think as much as we've enjoyed the addition of halftime analysis and also water break analysis and Anthony Barry chatting, I think some British broadcaster needs to buy up Erling Haaland's broadcast interviews with Norwegian TV, because they are absolutely class. I saw a clip doing the rounds earlier of where he was asked about the fact Mbappe had scored and then he'd scored, and he went, I don't care really, they'll probably win it, won't they? And he's just so good. He's so good. He's such a wonderfully weird footballer. I think he's brilliant.
Tom, am I imagining it? Doesn't he look different in a Norway shirt on the world stage to you?
He does a little bit, yeah. There's a kind of a bit more freedom to his play as well. There's a little bit more joy. He smiles a little bit more than he does for Manchester City, and that's not a dig at Manchester City. That's nothing against them at all. There's just there's a kind of you can feel like a camaraderie as well, and you feel the real pride as well in representing his nation as well. It's a wonderful thing to watch. And I would say, actually, Alyson, the same for Martin Ødegaard as well, to give equal billing to two players of top Premier League sides. I've been watching him thinking, Christ, Arsenal fans would be thinking, where the hell have you been all season, mate? Like, with pace, driving runs. And I'm thinking, could have done with a bit of that against PSG, Martin. Anyway, we'll digress onto other things. But, I mean, the listener commenting on Spotify wanted to ask us who we thought the best fans were. So I think Alyson's made a good case for Norway there. Gregor, any other fans that you've spotted in the stands? We've talked about a few already. Any that you think are worth a mention?
The Scottish fans are quite good, aren't they?
Oh, he's done it. I can't believe he's done it, Alyson. I thought I'd give him the opportunity to be classy, and he's wasted it. There
was a good crossover, I think, between Norway and Norway's fans and Scotland's fans in Boston. And there's I think a lot of pubs, a lot of kind of videos taken in pubs of them all doing the rowing, because, two teams united, two nations united rowing in a pub. So, yes. And who else? I think Congo the other night. I was going to say Congo, yeah. And
Cape Verde as well. I would like to give a special mention to all South Africa fans who've had to travel all that way and spend that money to see absolutely turgid performances from their team. Absolutely dreadful stuff. So a special mention to the South Africa fans who've been partying in the stands. Let's wrap up by moving into round 3 then. By the time you're listening to this, we'll be heading towards 6 games in a day. I've got to prove to Gregor Robertson once again that you can indeed watch 2 games at a time. He says you can't. He's shaking his head at me from North London, but you can, Gregor. You can do it, and I'm going to prove that you can. Because at the same time as I will be watching Morocco against Haiti, I will also be watching Scotland against Brazil. How are you feeling?
I take it Scotland and Brazil will be on the big screen, yeah?
No, Scotland and Brazil on the little, maybe I might even put it on the phone.
Okay, how am I feeling? I'm terrified, obviously, but at the same time, just kind of, we're playing Brazil in Miami at the World Cup. These are good. These are great days. Days I've not seen in my adult life. So I was reading Michael Grant's preview beforehand, and there was some great lines in that, like samba music against Adidas Sambas, snake hip dancing Brazilians against joyously boozy Scots putting traffic cones on the heads of statues. I'm ready. I'm ready for it now. And some little nuggets in his piece as well. That you kind of, it does feel like we always play Brazil, and we do. It's the 5th meeting in the World Cup. I was even thinking back to, I was talking with one of my friends earlier and saying, I remember in 1990 when we lost. Jim Leighton fumbled the ball late on, and we lost 1-0, and we went out, and I was getting Nessun Dorma and crying my eyes out. I was sick. I was 6, yeah, but I do remember that. And then the next World Cup, I remember '98 when we played in the opening game in France, and I remember that, and we ran home from school to watch it early. And then there's just this barren period in between, and now we're playing Brazil again. So I am terrified, but I'm also really, really excited. And I have a glimmer of hope, which is, as ever, is what kills you. Yeah,
glimmer of hope. Where are you going to be watching?
Going round to one of my friends, and he's got a little boy as well who's going to be experiencing this like we once did for the first time. So I hope he's not crying behind the sofa at full time as well.
Excellent. And you're going to join me for a podcast afterwards, win, lose or draw, whatever, yeah?
At the moment, I'll commit to a yes, but we'll see. We'll see. If it's really embarrassing, then you might have to get someone else, Tom.
Okay, you'll have to get your mate's son to come on instead in your place. But we'll leave it there for now. Gregor Robertson and Alyson Rudd, thank you very much for joining me. We'll be back with another Daily World Cup show tomorrow. We'll see you then.